don't have any affectations of holiness, so they're not like really sober all the time. I mean, they're laughing.
There are moments in film history that don't just catch your eye. They grip it and refuse to let go. Jennifer Connelly has had more than her share of those, but one in particular left an entire generation breathless. It wasn't a headline, it wasn't a scandal, it was something quieter and far more unforgettable. At a glance, it looked like Hollywood doing what it does best, turning beauty into spectacle. But take a closer look, and what you'll find is something layered, unnerving, and oddly powerful. A snapshot, a pose, a choice. What was it really saying? And what did Jennifer think of it all? You might think you know, but try not to gasp when you see what she actually revealed. From Brooklyn to the big screen. Jennifer Connelly's early life was a quiet prelude to the cinematic symphony she would later conduct. Born in the serene Catskill Mountains of New York, she spent most of her childhood in the Brooklyn Heights neighborhood. It was there, among tree-lined streets and artistic energy, that Jennifer's ethereal beauty and deep introspection began to form. Her striking features caught attention early, and by the age of 10, she had stepped into the world of modeling, appearing in print ads and television commercials. But even then, there was something more behind her gaze, an unspoken complexity that hinted at the serious actress she would become. Jennifer's first taste of film came in 1984, with a small part in Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America, a gangster epic that introduced her to the grandeur of Hollywood storytelling. Just 2 years later, she captivated young audiences in Jim Henson's Labyrinth, 1986, starring alongside music legend David Bowie. Though the film wasn't a box office hit at the time, it became a cult classic. And Connelly, barely a teenager, became an icon for a generation of dreamers. While most child stars might have burned bright and fast, Jennifer held tightly to her quiet resilience, never letting fame define her. This was a choice unconventional in Hollywood. Jennifer chose to get an education, to study English at Yale, and then theater arts at Stanford. She didn't want to be just another pretty face on a poster. She wanted depth, substance, and an intellectual understanding of her craft. This grounding would later go on to bless her characters with a rare intelligence, allowing for performances with a lived-in feeling so haunting and unforgettable. When Jennifer appeared in various films like The Rocketeer, 1991, the audience recognized that she wasn't just another pretty woman, but rather the emergence of a force to be reckoned with in the industry. Ms. Connelly's early career may have begun with appeal, but very soon became something much more. Her survival against being boxed into anything resembling a teenage idol or damsel in distress became a great point of difference in an industry that only nurtures its young for rent. Early 90s performances in lesser films held a kind of whispering greatness. With her majestic talent, she possessed the understanding of when and how to hone that talent into focus. And that made all the difference. No longer just a model-turned-actress, the girl from Brooklyn Heights was quietly becoming one of Hollywood's most quietly brilliant stars. But just when her story seemed to settle into quiet promise, one unexpected role would toss her headfirst into the strange and spectacular. Breakthrough in Labyrinth. Jennifer Connelly's true breakthrough came at just 15 years old, when she landed the lead role of Sarah in Jim Henson's 1986 fantasy film Labyrinth, a coming-of-age story wrapped in magical creatures, haunting labyrinths, and surreal dreamscapes. The film followed Sarah's quest to rescue her baby brother from the enigmatic Goblin King, played by rock legend David Bowie. Although Labyrinth received mixed reviews upon its release and underperformed at the box office, its rich visual design, experimental puppetry, and unforgettable soundtrack earned it cult status in the decades that followed. For Connelly, The role marked a defining moment, not only in her career, but also in her life, as she stepped fully into the spotlight and into the hearts of a generation of fantasy-loving fans. As Sarah, Connelly delivered a performance that combined vulnerability with strength, naivety with wisdom, qualities that made her portrayal deeply relatable to young audiences. It was a challenging role for any actor, let alone a teenager working opposite an iconic performer like David Bowie, in a complex world created by one of puppetry's greatest minds, Jim Henson. Connelly has since recalled how immersive and at times overwhelming the production was. In interviews, she has admitted that she didn't fully grasp the magnitude of what she was a part of at the time. Yet, even amid the technical demands and fantastical chaos of the set, her emotional authenticity and screen presence foreshadowed the dramatic gravitas she would later bring to more adult roles. For many, the concerns that hovered over Labyrinth's magic were unknown to quite a few of Connelly's admirers. She commented in The Guardian in 2024 about how acting had never been a childhood ambition for her, but was rather an occupation suggested, encouraged, and fully supported, primarily by her mother. She claimed to have had no training or background in acting. She had hardly seen any films and had certainly never acted in a school play before she was actually cast in a role in a major Hollywood extravaganza. Acting still didn't always seem real to her in the early years. Those pre-teen years in the industry were often disorienting for her, and the next few years of reflection and self-discovery were a period for her to finally decide for herself if she truly wished to enter that world. She had gone through that period of big-time existential reflection, which was rare for teenagers, alone on a public stage. From this very uncertain start, Labyrinth would pave the way for Connelly's future. Though this would be followed up with years at Yale, then Stanford, enmeshed in literature and performance, the presence of Sarah would linger with her and the audience. The film was already a pivotal icon of the 1980s pop culture and Jennifer's quiet tenacity. The poise and maturity she showed through such a taxing role served to further distinguish her from the child star mold that obliterates so many young careers. And with Labyrinth's growing reputation, so too did Connelly's, whose early stumble into stardom became the first firm step along a long and extraordinary path. A career reinvented. Jennifer Connelly's journey from child actress to Academy Award winner is a testament to both her evolving artistry and her unwavering commitment to personal growth. Although she entered the film industry young and somewhat by circumstance, at her mother's suggestion, Connelly steadily reshaped her path through introspection and a growing passion for the craft. This self-discovery reached a turning point with her haunting role in Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream, 2000, where she portrayed a woman spiraling into addiction. The performance shocked audiences and critics alike, revealing a fearless depth few had expected, and firmly breaking her away from her early image as a youthful ingenue. The true tipping point, however, came 2 years later with Ron Howard's A Beautiful Mind, 2001, where Connelly played Alicia Nash, the devoted wife of mathematician John Nash, portrayed by Russell Crowe. Her performance was both subtle and emotionally layered, grounding the film's more cerebral elements in raw humanity. The role earned her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, along with a Golden Globe and a BAFTA, cementing her reputation as a serious talent in Hollywood. But despite her poise on stage that night, Connelly later admitted to feeling intense anxiety. In a 2024 interview on The Drew Barrymore Show, she revealed that during her Oscar speech, she experienced a complete shutdown and was overwhelmed by the moment's magnitude. With just 40 seconds on the clock, Connelly stood in front of an audience composed of Hollywood legends, calling the moment surreal and emotionally paralyzing. "It was just a complete shock," she recounted. The moment meant to be the ultimate stamp of approval instead became disassociated in her mind, drawing an even sharper contrast between outward public success and inner private turmoil. What kept her from flying away was her father, her date for the evening. "He tethered me," she said, emphasizing how, even in the most brilliant spotlight, one needs personal roots and quiet support. The emotional complexity of Connelly's Oscar night paralleled the very transformation she had gone through on screen. This was not merely recognition for a single performance, but recognition of the quiet reinvention that would take years. One from the wide-eyed teenager in Labyrinth to a powerhouse actress willing to explore all that was uncomfortable, trauma and truth. It was thus, with her win for A Beautiful Mind, that she not only stamped approval, but, more importantly, her coming into being as a multidimensional artist who can be both vulnerable and commanding. This was really a rebirth, not a showy, theatrical kind, but rather one born from inner digging. The industry was waiting for that, and it finally acknowledged what she had become: dark roles and darker emotions. Jennifer Connelly has long been recognized for her willingness to delve into emotionally demanding roles, often portraying characters grappling with profound psychological turmoil. In House of Sand and Fog, 2003, she embodied Kathy Niccolo, a recovering addict whose home is mistakenly auctioned off, leading to a devastating conflict with an Iranian immigrant family. Connelly was drawn to the script's moral ambiguity, stating, "I liked the fact that there is no good guy and bad guy. I found it really compelling that both sides do things that are morally questionable because life is often like that." Her portrayal was lauded for its depth and nuance, with producer Michael London remarking, "I don't think there is another actress who could have played Kathy with such power and grace." In Reservation Road, 2007, Connelly took on the role of Grace Lerner, a mother devastated by the sudden death of her son in a hit-and-run accident. The role was particularly challenging, as Connelly had to navigate the character's intense grief while managing her own emotions as a mother. She admitted to avoiding thoughts of her own children during filming, saying, "It seemed so horrific to me to consciously try to think about my own children and the possibility of something like this ever happening to them." To prepare, she immersed herself in literature on grief and loss, striving to authentically represent the stages of mourning. It wasn't just research, of course. Connelly engaged herself quite closely in the psychological realities of the characters. In Reservation Road, for instance, she devoted time to studying online forums where parents stated their experiences with the children they lost to hit-and-run accidents, looking for ways by which they were able to absorb their pain. There came a time, however, when her research did seem intrusive. "I felt like I was violating some trust, that I was on territory where I didn't belong." Such sensitivity shows her respect and realism while portraying grief. Yet it was very draining at times. Thus, Connelly needed balance in the projects she undertook. Following Reservation Road, she kept light, humorous fare, like "He's Just Not That Into You," to counterbalance the emotional weightiness of her other films. This purposeful change showed an awareness of the emotional weight that many of her films presented, and one equally committed to her well-being in a career filled with intense, often demanding performances. Jennifer and Paul's quiet love story. Jennifer Connelly and Paul Bettany's love story began not with grand gestures, but with a quiet connection on the set of A Beautiful Mind in 2001. Though they didn't begin dating until after filming wrapped, both actors later admitted to being drawn to each other almost immediately. Connelly noticed Bettany's talent at their first table read, while Bettany was struck by her presence and beauty. Their relationship took a dramatic turn after the events of September 11, 2001. Bettany, deeply worried about Connelly's safety, realized he was in love. In a move that was equal parts impulsive and sincere, he proposed before they even officially dated, and soon moved to New York to be with her. By the end of 2002, they were married in a private ceremony in Scotland, setting the tone for a life together marked by deep loyalty but fiercely guarded privacy. Throughout their decades-long marriage, Connelly and Bettany have prioritized family over fame. Together, they have 2 children, Stellan and Agnes Lark, and Connelly's son from a previous relationship, Kai, whom Bettany has raised as his own. Despite their A-list careers, they have managed to keep their family life largely out of the public eye, appearing at red carpet events together only occasionally. When they do, their chemistry is evident, but it's clear they prefer to keep the most meaningful moments to themselves. As Bettany once joked, being married to a former model and Oscar winner made him feel like the eye candy on the red carpet, a rare, light-hearted glimpse into their dynamic. Their relationship has been tied up not only in personal events, but also in professional ties. The couple continued their work together on Shelter, 2015, an anguishing film written and directed by Bettany, with Connelly portraying a homeless heroin addict. Connelly described these episodes of collaboration as emotionally charged, yet liberating because of the trust she shared with her husband. "Because he's my husband and I trust him so much, I felt very safe," she said. Bettany, too, on his part, was blunt about how hard she was on him as an actress. He described it as the gravel shower making him all the better for it. Together with creative tensions, the respect they held for each other made it one of the more important landmarks in both their careers and their marriage. Their rare public comments over the years are nothing but affirming what their silent togetherness entails. Their love rests on common values and stake. From one another's shoulders at premieres, to parenting and bike riding across the streets of New York, Bettany and Connelly have grounded their relationship in reality. Connelly went as far as calling Bettany one of the most important relationships in her life in a 2024 interview with The Guardian. She admits that her emotional range as an actress often comes from her own experiences. From spontaneous beginnings to steadfast partnership, theirs is a story that runs counter to the typical Hollywood narrative, and it continues to be told quietly, powerfully, and far away from the limelight. While her love story stayed private, Hollywood had other ideas for her public image. The curse of being too perfect. Jennifer Connelly's rise in Hollywood during the late 80s and early 90s was not just about talent. It was unavoidably entangled with her physical appearance. By the time she starred in 1991 Career Opportunities, Connelly had already earned a reputation for her ethereal beauty, a trait studios often leaned into heavily. This was most evident in the film's now iconic poster, where Connelly appears perched in a suggestive pose above co-star Frank Whaley, wearing a revealing white tank top. That image, producer Hunt Lowry admitted, was designed to pop and spark attention, and it did. In fact, Whaley recalled nearly crashing his car the first time he saw it towering over Sunset Boulevard. The studio even reportedly manipulated the promotional image, enhancing the suggestive costume after the photo session to make it more provocative. The objectification didn't stop at the marketing. In the film itself, Connelly's character Josie, though a young woman navigating emotional trauma, is repeatedly framed through the lens of her desirability. One scene, where she distracts robbers by riding a coin-operated rocking horse, became infamous for its titillating presentation and solidified her status as a sex symbol among teen audiences and film critics alike. Reflecting on the movie years later, Whaley noted how many male fans seemed to ignore everything but Connelly's looks, joking, "They just wanted to see Jennifer. It was like, why is this guy talking?" Despite the film's deeper subtext about abuse and personal struggle, much of the public's focus remained fixated on Connelly's body. Surprisingly, she has not condemned any of it publicly, with regard to how career opportunities imposed that image upon her. All her career moves later seem to reject that early typecasting. Mature roles with huge emotional demand such as heroin-addicted Marion in Requiem for a Dream and grieving mother in Reservation Road, became the types of roles she gravitated to. Interviews reveal her candidness regarding the discomfort over seeing her beauty overtaking everything else. She confessed in a chat with Glamour, "It became important to me not to be about that," obviously alluding to steps that took her away from the public limelight during her university years and to much more serious self-examination to determine why she ever ventured into acting in the first place. Such acts were deliberate acts of reclamation, personal and professional moves out of the objectification of early Hollywood. Instead, it was the binaural definitions of being supremely talented and classically beautiful that left Jennifer Connelly in a strange bind, much celebrated but not understood, much admired but also in the same breath, totally typecast. Her early roles being marketed, realized, even an early definer. The film Career Opportunities would now reduce her complexity into mere aesthetics. Connelly was, however, quiet in this fight, not involved in scandals or defiance, but very well thought through in the characters she portrayed and in the cultivation of an extremely private life. The mother behind the scenes. Jennifer Connelly may be known for her intense performances and red carpet elegance, but behind the scenes, she leads a life marked by quiet devotion to her role as a mother. Connelly has 3 children. Her eldest, Kai, born in 1997 with photographer David Dugan, and 2 younger children, Stellan and Agnes, with her husband, actor Paul Bettany. While her Hollywood career continues to thrive, Connelly has always been clear about her priorities. Family comes first. Over the years, she has become known not just for her discretion, but for her fierce protection of her children's privacy, keeping her family life largely out of the spotlight. Even so, Connelly occasionally offers glimpses into her world as a mom, revealing a woman who values grounded experiences over glamour. In July 2024, she posted a rare series of photos from a road trip through the Norwegian mountains with her daughter Agnes. The images, which featured everything from breathtaking waterfalls to a pack of llamas, revealed not only their shared spirit of adventure, but also the strength of their mother-daughter bond. Connelly captioned the post, "Road trip in Norway with my girl and some llamas," capturing the joy of exploration and connection in just a few words. It was a glimpse into a quieter, more personal side of her life, one not often seen in press tours or premieres. While motherhood has shaped Connelly's career choices, she has stated that it is a very minor point in the bigger picture of her life. In her interview at the Golden Globe Awards, she noted that it would be much easier to answer how becoming a mother has not changed me, but I probably would not really have anything to say. Moreover, the emotional toll of the work undertaken since becoming a mother is a crucial factor in her decision-making regarding serious projects. The way she now thinks about the world her son Kai is growing up in, and the things she gives her energy to, is, "I don't want to put anything out into the world that is going to cause any more suffering or pain or confusion." These reflections illustrate her changing value system, not just as an actress, but as a woman trying to nurture her children in this most complex of times and a staggering world. Connelly truly stands out in her ability to balance public exposure with the many facets of motherhood. From cross-country hikes with her daughter, the selection of film roles that foster this deeper message, she captures a maternal strength that transcends cliché. By choosing always to protect her healthy home life over the exercise of celebrity power, she speaks for a woman who gained her personality not through fame, but family. Jennifer Connelly has established a sort of non-reality where the idea of motherhood is not an affront to her identity, but rather its cornerstone. Her journey with fitness and philosophy. For Jennifer Connelly, wellness isn't a vanity-driven pursuit. It's a way of living that reflects her deeply rooted values of balance, clarity, and authenticity. Now in her 50s, Connelly maintains a consistent fitness routine, often blending exercise with her love of nature. In April 2024, she posted a serene glimpse of a snowshoe adventure in Vermont, bundled in winter workout gear alongside her dog. While the image showed the actress in peak physical form, it also reflected her long-standing belief in holistic health. "I'm very much aligned with the philosophy of taking a holistic approach to health, well-being, and beauty," she once shared with New Beauty, emphasizing the importance of nurturing both mind and body from the inside out. Physical movement has always played a central role in Connelly's life, dating back to her teenage years. She describes running as a near-daily practice, one that brings her emotional clarity and joy. Even with the demands of parenting and a busy career, she finds time to fit it in, sometimes during a child's nap or while pushing a stroller. Alongside running, she has incorporated yoga as a grounding practice, helping her navigate the unpredictable demands of Hollywood. "I always feel so much happier after I've done it," she said in an interview with Chatelaine, revealing that these rituals aren't about discipline alone, but about a kind of emotional reset, an anchor to her sense of self. Starting from her movements, Connelly gets nourished intellectually and spiritually. She has discussed her penchant for literature, in particular Virginia Woolf, and how music influences her role preparation, taking the example of Radiohead's constantly changing soundscapes. These art forms are not only used as backgrounds, they are important tools for character construction and emotional access. "What feeds me the most are the streets of New York," she told L'Officiel USA, giving credit to the random atmospheric behavior of the city for her powers of observation and artistic intuition. This combination of grounding in emotions with an intellectual exploration is what gives a rare, quiet intensity to her performances. Jennifer's balance is further manifested in her personal life. She and her husband, Paul Bettany, like to take refuge from the spotlight to spend time with their children, cooking and making music at home. Connelly's choices in everything from hiking Nordic trails to choosing scripts are intentional and present. For her, the journey of fitness and philosophy is not about hitting the mark, but being in alignment, a daily practice of listening inward while moving through an industry that asks the opposite. Jennifer Connelly in Bad Behavior. In Bad Behavior, Jennifer Connelly takes on one of her most complex and psychologically unfiltered roles to date, portraying Lucy, a former child star spiraling into disillusionment during a spiritual retreat. The film marks the directorial debut of Alice Englert and unfolds as a dark satire on self-help culture and emotional reckoning. Connelly's performance is intentionally raw from the outset, her character visibly disillusioned and hostile toward the serenity of the Oregon sanctuary she's chosen. Lucy doesn't believe in enlightenment, yet she desperately seeks it, an internal contradiction Connelly captures with subtlety, discomfort, and conviction. It's a portrait of midlife crisis and maternal alienation that feels both painfully specific and universally resonant. Connelly's depiction of Lucy anchors the film's early intrigue. Her fractured phone call with her daughter Dylan, played by Englert, on the drive to the retreat immediately establishes a mother-daughter relationship strained by distance and silence. When the narrative eventually brings the two women together, their reunion is steeped in unresolved tension, making space for moments of biting wit and emotional vulnerability. Though the film loses some narrative cohesion in its second half, Connelly's portrayal remains captivating throughout, her disheveled grace illuminating the spiritual and psychological malaise that defines the story. Much of the film's acumen rests in Lucy's interactions with retreat insiders, especially her passive, then outright hostile standoff against Beverly, a vacant influencer who is scared of aging. These moments give Connelly an opportunity to unlock slow-burning rage that is rather earned and organic. It serves the film's critique of lightweight self-help and generational hypocrisy. Her dynamic with Ben Whishaw's Elon, the eerily charming spiritual leader of the retreat, propagates much of the film's tension. A strange mix of guru calm and grifter ambiguity gives someone to rebel against, but also reflects the deeper truth that her answers lie not out there somewhere in the chaos that she carries within. By the end of Bad Behavior, the film has turned from caustic satire into a more contemplative, dialogue-driven mode, where Connelly's performance is still firmly placed as the sole thread bringing all the changes together. Her final monologue, "You're going to have to forgive me, and then forgive yourself for taking so long to forgive me," hits the heart of the uneasy reconciliation this film proposes between personal trauma and the unreachable promise of self-healing. She may have confronted spiritual chaos on screen, but off-screen, she's rewriting Hollywood's expectations in a way no script ever could. Aging gracefully in an ageist industry. In an industry that often glorifies youth and sidelines women past a certain age, Jennifer Connelly is quietly rewriting the rules. Now in her 50s, she continues to land major roles in Top Gun, Maverick, and Snowpiercer, all while rejecting Hollywood's obsession with turning back the clock. In a 2015 interview with More magazine, Connelly shared her thoughts on aging, saying, "We equate beauty for women with youth, and that's sad. I don't want to erase my history on my face." Rather than chase the illusion of eternal youth, she embraces the authenticity that age brings, reflecting the same introspective honesty that defines her acting. Her husband, Paul Bettany, once noted that their sons spend more time in front of the mirror than she does, proof that Connelly's beauty lies in her lack of pretense. This confidence has not gone unnoticed. In fact, a revival of interest regarding her fiery performance in Of Love and Shadows, 1994, caused the recent waves of nostalgia that rippled through praise for her from fans regarding her timeless presence. One can only wonder how the critics could possibly have overlooked a treasure like her. It wasn't just looks, the layered strength she brings, whether in fantasy heroines or political dramas, is what makes a character awesome. The way her career has unfolded is far from being the flashy kind of reinvention, but now it sets a new precedent for actresses beyond 40, in a world still grappling with the idea of valuing women's worth outside of their youth. Jennifer Connelly is here to remind us that elegance, depth, and heaven knows real talent have no use-by date. They merely grow into better wine. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories just like this. Got a favorite Jennifer Connelly moment? Drop it below. We'd love to hear it. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video on your screen for more iconic Hollywood moments you won't want to miss. See you there.